build it in all sorts of ordinary ways. And this was the first part.
Sure.
And then, so the angle was the new part. And then what we did is we put on a tape that Avery had made with his skills.
Uh-huh.
And it had 56 or some number that was necessary bees on the surface, shown on the television. And then what we did is we said, well, these bees are flying around at random.
Uh-huh.
But let's do something that's interesting. Right? We'll make a box. No. We will make these bees, if they come close to each other, slow down.
Uh-huh.
Just because they are close to each other, not for any other reason. And so the speed was changed.
Sure.
And then it turned out that all these bees started clumping.
Uh-huh.
Because the programs made them clump, because if they came close, they went slower.
Uh-huh.
And sort of, it's like you're driving the car and you're all interesting, something has happened on the sidewalk, and all the cars slow down to see.
Yes.
And then it gets to be a clump.
Uh-huh.
So we said, we can start building in terms of relationships instead of making everything square.
Stafford Beer, I think.
Oh, great.
I mean, you can read your
It's not
handwriting,
KK.
but I think it says Stafford Beer here.
Well, if it says Stafford Beer, that's the one we want.
Beer Brody.
Let me see. I know, because I was very careful.
And on the other side it says Stafford Beer.
Oh, well, that's the one I was looking for.
It's just I don't have the
Well, you can...
audio player.
Yeah, but I don't have a use for it.
I'll borrow it, I'll mail it back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And use it as you wish.
Fantastic.
Because I'm...
do you know what time did you get it? It was 2000 and... Do you know the year approximately? It says August 2001, but I doubt it. Maybe it's not the date. It's not the date, no? This is not the date.
Let's see. Eyes are not the best.
Oh, maybe he says it somewhere.
August, I think that's right.
No, if it's August 2001, it's just a few months before he died.
Well, that's about right.
Yeah? It's Toronto. You saw him?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds...
So I'm glad I've given it to somebody so it can be used. That makes it worthwhile. I don't, between you and I don't, the only thing is I would like, if you're going to write something which in any way, like talking about the alcohol or things like that, to just, leave them out. I mean, where I'm going against the tide in a manner that is presently dangerous, then avoid it.
Yeah, sure.
Which I think you'll ask me anyway. But I'm trying not to be concerned about all the I things, the ego stuff. It's not important.
Okay, so have one more box to go.
I'm so glad.
Those I'll probably borrow, and I'll ask you a few questions about. This is, for example, is it your handwriting, or I don't even know what it is, but it sounds like an interesting text. Is it your handwriting or somebody else's?
Oh, it's mine.
Do you know what manifesto is that?
Huh?
What manifesto is that? It sounds like a manifesto. It's from '74, so it's an interesting.
It's sad.
If it's something impersonal, you can just.
No,
you don't have to-
This is the sort of thing I would like to have used. There's so many things I've done that have not been used. What is Super Beast? It is a larger large creature we are a part of. The heart, perhaps, the brain. Are we the brains of what in the Bible was the results of God's creation? Once we were the heart, and now we have scrambled into being brain to seize power over Super Beast. Anyway,
Well,
that's good.
I'll take a
I'm
look.
glad you found it.
And the other people in Rain Dance, Frank Gillette and Schamberg.
Oh, Frank.
Yeah.
If you see him, give him my. Is he alive?
I think he's still alive. Yes.
Give him my love.
Uh-huh.
He and I are fun together.
Uh-huh. Paul Ryan passed away a few years ago, but Gillette
didn't
is
know
still
that.
alive. Uh-huh.
I'm sorry about Paul. Well, Frank is a super guy because he was at this conference which
Uh-huh.
helping to put the tables up on end,
Uh-huh.
and he was a part of our mischief.
But did he stay with you at the quarry or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the two of us took was it
Because he became a rather prominent artist, so both him and Paul Ryan now are considered major figures in video art.
yeah.
So Paul Ryan's papers are at the Smithsonian, so I mean they're both now sort of people are discovering them as artists. So
Good.
uh-huh.
That's very good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we were taking not mescaline together. What was it? One of the drugs anyway.
LSD? I don't know what you're taking.
I'd taken LSD in the old days. But anyway,
Uh-huh. Schamberg, did you meet him?
Schomburg?
Yeah. He wrote Guerrilla Television and then wrote a lot for Radical Software, and then became a famous TV producer. He left it all.
No, I don't think so.
Uh-huh. What is this film, The Missing Link?
The Missing Link is about a hand controller.
It's about?
Fingers, and
Uh-huh.
which had to do with, for instance, controlling undersea vehicles. So you could feel what the undersea vehicles... You have a robot and undersea vehicle.
Is it something from Yale, 1968?
Yeah,
From-
that's the one I'm talking about. That's very important.
That's the conference
Yeah.
where you rearrange things?
No.
That's where you gave a talk?
That's where I gave the talk I was talking about to the...
Yeah.
And it's very important.
But how do you even play? I don't even know how does one play those things now? On this
Well,
thing?
you go to somebody
Who has the
knows
equipment?
and has the equipment.
But you didn't try restoring it.
Hmm?
You didn't try restoring it.
No, because it was sort of lost.
Uh-huh.
You know,
I'll see what I can do with it. But the videos you uploaded to YouTube, where do they come from?
I'm sorry.
You uploaded 4 videos from the late 60s to
They're
YouTube.
from the Telling Fish About Water.
They're from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I sneaked them out because you can't. In those days, I wasn't able to put the whole tape on,
Yes.
and I would like to put more on, but
Well, I don't think that they will notice, to be honest. The German TV.
yeah.
I think it's something I've already seen. It's interesting. This conference, did you attend it or it just happened here? The Interdisciplinary Perspectives on Time,
No, I attended.
New York. Oh, this is where you gave your cloak manifesto.
Yeah.
Because the first thing I stumbled upon was the Gotthard Gunther paper in it. So,
Well, that's good. You could do that too.
yeah. But
And there's a short one from the New York Academy of Science somewhere.
Oh, Hans van Forster is here also, so he probably was at that event. So you
Yeah.
might have met him there. Time and Memory. The Cloak Manifesto, yeah.
Yeah.
And did Macaulay have much of an interest in philosophy?
What's the title?
Huh? No.
McCulloch?
I'm asking, yeah, did he have a lot of interest in philosophy? Or.
Yeah. He had a lot of interest in philosophy. He was involved with monism and dualism.
Yes.
And he was a monist, he would declare.
Uh-huh.
And he was very involved with that. But it's not something he had to do with in practice.
So this is the proposal. This I would like to borrow. This is the human enhancement.
Yeah.
So you had a copy of it.
Yeah.
This I would like to take a scan of. I don't know if it's, what is this? I'll take a look.
Yeah, take a look and see.
And did you keep in touch with people from the States after you moved here, or not much?
Not so much.
Uh-huh.
When I was in the laboratory,
Uh-huh.
I stood up one day, and there were a few the other people there. We had about 8, 9 people,
Uh-huh.
maybe 2. And I made a very serious statement. I stood up in a chair.
Uh-huh.
I said, I hereby declare
Uh-huh.
that I am no longer a scientist.
Uh-huh.
Because, I don't think I've written it down, because science has not taken responsibility for the effects that they have on human beings.
Uh-huh.
And they have caused so much destruction,
Uh-huh.
and particularly in wars, and have constructed the tools for mass destruction,
Uh-huh.
etc., etc., etc. I don't think it was very long, but it was very poetic.
Uh-huh.
And I really have followed that ever since.
Uh-huh.
And I have the picture of the United States as being a place where people are caught up in the net of violence,
Uh-huh.
and even the people who are non-violent. And Norway was a great escape from that.
Uh-huh.
And I was afraid, because if I tried to help somebody who needed help,
Uh-huh.
and they happened to be connected to something violent,
Uh-huh.
then the police would get me.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I was not I didn't care about it.
Sure.
If I wanted to help somebody, I would help them.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't want to go to jail for it.
Sure.
And that was against my rules.
Uh-huh.
So I just...
But eventually, how did you reconcile your, I think, quite correct perspective on America with, like, cybernetics? Did you eventually become a convicted Marxist, or
No,
convinced, or,
absolutely
like,
never became I became a Marxist in terms of the fact that I studied Marx, and I studied Lenin, and understood and that they basically blew it
Uh-huh.
when they moved it to Moscow. I mean,
Uh-huh.
to Russia,
Yeah.
because that had nothing to do with the Marxist that they believed in. Marxism. They were doing something which was wrong.
Uh-huh.
They just substituted another power,
Uh-huh.
playing the same games with
Sure.
just the new names.
Uh-huh.
And so I never when I really, and I read a lot of Chairman Mao,
Sure.
and the ideas again were extraordinarily fine.
Uh-huh.
And what was written for Mao, I doubt if he wrote it. These were people who were quite thoughtful and did a good job of writing.
Sure.
But I spent a year there,
Uh-huh.
and I came back and I decided I better go into business and become a capitalist. I mean, what was there in terms of the people were fine, but you know, I went to the hospital and with somebody who was knowledgeable, and we walked around the hospital, and here were people were coming in wheelbarrows who were sick. They didn't have ambulances, and here was one beautiful section with all fine brick and all. And who's that for? Well, what's that? Oh, that's for leaders of industry, because you know, if they're sick, then the whole factory won't work. So that was sort of the parting of the ways.
Did you read much anarchism while you were in America?
No,
No?
I never really got into anarchist. I still would like to know more, because.
Did you read Murray Bookchin? Do you know who he was?
No.
Murray Bookchin. He was.
I know Luxembourg.
No. Murray Bookchin. He is an American who was very committed to ecology in the 60s and 70s, but he came from a very left wing and eventually anarchist wing. So he was making a strong case for ecology, but he saw that in America, ecology has a tendency to become commodified very quickly. So people go and buy products that look green but do nothing about ecology. And he had a very radical vision, and he was passionately against Stuart Brand and Hoyler's catalog, because he thought it was just, you know, yuppies reducing everything to consumption. And for them, when ecology was about consumption, well, it should be about something else.
Yeah. Well, this is true.
These reports must be from your time with the blind children. It looks like it's the diary and the reports from your time in Washington.
Yeah.
Some of them actually look interesting, because they mention Edward Hall, whom we still have to talk. Meeting on Perception. You know, I think I'll take and look through them tonight, and then I'll just bring it tomorrow. This big file. Some of it is very interesting. Because for me also, you know, it's interesting to understand how the interest in perception emerges, and it's this kind of materials that are actually very useful. You want to look how it develops between 1960 and 1964, right?
Yeah.
Some of it. Okay, so this is it with regards to the boxes, and you had some more stuff over there.
I have more stuff. I have more stuff elsewhere, but this is
the start, and you're getting cold and tired. I can sense.
Yeah, that's all right.
So let me just.
I'm glad you're doing the work. Fine.
So let me. And letters, you didn't keep them. Whatever you corresponded
Well,
with Bates and.
I didn't correspond so very much.
But there are a few dozen letters from you in the Bates and Archives.
Okay.
Which is, I haven't seen them. And then McCulloch Archives also, I don't know, maybe those are just letters about work, and they are about the article you were writing. I don't know, but it's probably 24 letters.
Okay.
It's just, maybe they're not important if you don't remember them. But
Well, no, I have a hard time keeping track of my own things. Yeah, you know, you can tell as I go. I'm not an organizer exactly. I'm a conceptualizer, and I'm a creative person.
yes.
And I really, I had, when I wrote my 2 books, I had a secretary and somebody who was doing the books with me.
Sure.
That was working fine.
Uh-huh.
But I need the other kind of person as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So those are the journals. So what should I do with the tape? Can I take this tape and try to see if I can reconstruct it or do something with it with the Yale meeting?
Yeah.
Because I mean I don't know. It's I'll try to.
Oh yes, that would be very fine. You know,
If I can digitize it, I'll just get you the digital. And this is here. It says Johnson. Is it you? It's you and Everett Johnson.
Yeah.
What does it say there?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, this would be important. And somehow if we get it into some sort of library or something,
Uh-huh.
with its date on it. Because it was a statement which even now is not respected,
Uh-huh.
but it's obviously in the...
Well, yeah, I mean, and also, you know, the way, like, Negroponte never really told the story of what happened, so nobody knows, because he also got very close to Gordon Pusk, and that's also something which you can tell me more about, and he would eventually be actually shipping a lot of equipment from MIT Media Lab to Gordon Pusk in Britain, because Pusk didn't have much money as he continued, you know, working for decades. But he learned a lot from Pusk, he learned a lot from you, and that story is forgotten, and he rarely speaks about Architecture Machine Group as if Media Lab came out of nowhere and it had no connection to architecture. It was all just about media. So when that story got forgotten, you know, it's not a surprise that nobody's interested because nobody knows.
Yeah.
So some of them are in Norwegian, this flux.
No.
Yeah, the two.
No,
There is
no,
an
no.
interview with you in Norwegian, and there is
No,
here.
no.
There is
As I
Norwegian.
suggested to you, you go into the...
Well, look there. It's in Norwegian.
uh,
Or maybe it's just the title is in Norwegian and the column is in.
no, that basically was not...
It's not the column yet.
no, somebody else wrote it, I think. Well, that particular one is not.
Yeah, this is also in Norwegian and has Bateson in it.
Yeah.
And the topology, how did you get interested in topology in general? Because the name of that article in Radical Software is Biotopology. Were you reading René Thom or any of the mathematicians, or?
No, I got in Klein, in the Klein bottle.
Klein, yes.
That's very important to me.
Yes.
And
You knew about it from Klein bottle because it was in the air, or you read something in math, or?
I got involved with topology,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not sure where from. But you know, when you're dealing with films
Uh-huh.
and thin films, as I was,
Uh-huh.
then you easily get involved with topology.
Uh-huh.
Because these thin films you can make in the... I made one at Avery's place. Well, again, it's in the... at Quarry.
Uh-huh.
I made something that was beautiful to me. I made if you can imagine, 2 cones,
Yes.
and each cone can be blown up separately.
Uh-huh.
So it can be larger or smaller,
Uh-huh.
or expanded or not. And then you make a donut,
Uh-huh.
and you put it inside. Here's the 2 cones,
Uh-huh.
and you put, here's the 2 cones, and then you put a donut in the middle.
Uh-huh.
And then if you have a thin film, you can collapse one cone and move the thing down that donut,
Uh-huh.
increase the pressure on the donut, and it runs down the cone.
Uh-huh.
You follow me?
Yeah.
And then when it gets down to a certain point, then you increase the pressure in the other element. Yeah, you can. Yeah, it gets down there. It's such that the two cones are attached to each other. I'm not sure I can show you, but when it gets down one, then the other one expands, and then, so
Yes.
it's going back and forth actively from one to the other, because the two cones, when one expands, the other one's collapsed. The one they're not like this. They're on top of each other. The two cones. You have to conceptualize it as a film. So that the cone is a film on the first cone, is a second cone, which is a film, which has no volume whatsoever. And then it goes across that, and then that one expands before it gets to the end, and it sends it back again. So you got this cone going back and forth with practically the donut going back and forth, practically no energy, and the whole thing has no volume. I mean, it has no given structure.
Sure.
It's just thin film, and you're getting action of it. Then I went and using that conception, and the best I could do, but I didn't do very well, was I made a worm. But I didn't use that system, but it came out of that work. I made a worm that could expand and contract, and out of thin film, and move along. I heard it was a great toy for kids. You know.
And this is when your project on the network of tools and toys, this is where it comes in.
That's on the film.
And your fascination with toys partly stems from your work also with children and psychiatry, or?
Yeah, family therapy.
And you've been reading Winnicott and on transitional objects, and not really, because I mean there is a lot of.
I'm trying to create something which goes out of the hard machines.
Yes.
And takes you to the next place. And this is the seed work for that. As I see it.
Yes.
So, and I have a task, which is to work on this problem of, 90 years old, I'm managing quite well, and I expect I might even get a lot older. And I have a task to perform, which is to be a part of what comes next. And so this is sort of the early work.
Sure.
Which could be fantasy.
And
living fantasy.
You mentioned Maturana. Where is that Maturana? There was a file or something about Maturana, or?
It's a file of his papers, which you may already have. But Did
you meet his colleague Varela? Francisco Varela.
I didn't have much contact. I didn't have contact with Varela. Up here,
So this is, we looked at. This, I think, are your papers also, some sorts. No, this file, let's see. Yes, that's the externalization paper. All of that I've seen. That I took a copy of already. This I haven't, I don't know if I've seen it. It's also your poem on family therapy, which is very hard to find.
Yeah, actually.
This I think I'll borrow. I just think I've already.
Yeah,
I think I already have
that one. They held the press so that I could put it in. So
I'll take the poem.
Yeah.
I'll borrow films. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll deal with the films, but I want to lose them. So
I can show you the box of films I have.
I'll take a look, of course.
But we can do that if we remember tomorrow. That's the one I'm not trying. This doesn't list it right.
That's your poem? Yes,
no,
or something?
I think it's.
I'll take it. book. That's another book. Those I have.
No, this is not it.
That's the...
This one I don't think is being.
Yeah, this is Maturana.
Yeah.
This.
That you can keep.
No, I think I pretty much have all of Maturana. I just want to see.
Because I haven't.
And the architects in London, in their architecture association, you got to know them because
little
Pask was there, or
No.
did you meet Cedric Price?
Yeah.
You did meet Cedric Price.
Well, I mean, the name is familiar.
He was working on the Fun Palace with John Littlewood and Pask. He's then did a lot of. He became a famous architect. He taught for a long time in the AA, the Architecture Association.
I may have read about him. I don't think I met him. Here's something by Amanda Stewart.
And Haley, you worked with Haley also, Jay Haley. Or
Yeah.
you see, your letters also show up in his archive.
Yeah. Oh, you got you have an archive which is useful.
Okay, with Maturana, this stuff I mostly have seen on it, so it's fine. Don't need to take it.
I think this book I never wrote. It might be interesting. Take a look at this.
And how did you get to keynote that, not keynote, but speak at that conference in '67 with Rauschenberg and painters, the electronic house, whatever it was,
Yeah,
ETA?
That was fun.
But what brought you there?
I think I was invited.
Uh-huh.
I was just invited.
And you knew Rauschenberg outside, or no? You met him there. Okay.
But I tell you, the experience was so magnificent. It was just in the interim,
Uh-huh.
they had this man whose name is, who's quite famous, I forget. He worked with machines, Ting Li Ting.
Possibly.
Well, he made machines out of things
Uh-huh.
that were conceptual machines.
Uh-huh.
And so we're sitting in the audience, and a guy in the interim, as far as we thought, came out,
Uh-huh.
and he has some metal things. And I really don't know what the hell he's doing, but he seems to be busy with himself, putting up something,
Uh-huh.
stage thing, you know?
Uh-huh.
And gradually we see that he is making, he's a very famous artist actually, he's making some sort of a machine which has a line, a production line,
Uh-huh.
and he has all of bottles coming onto the production line.
Uh-huh.
And then they come along and we see that there's some funny thing at the end of the production line, and it's a hammer.
Uh-huh.
And as the machine, the bottles, it takes quite a while to make the machine and put it up on the stage, and the bottles, getting them all set up and so on and so forth. As the bottles come to the end of the machine, a big hammer comes,
Smashes them.
and then a little Chinese man comes out.
It wasn't Andy Warhol by any chance, no?
No, I think it's a guy by the name Tingley or something like that. And starts sweeping up the glass. And what a conceptual, what a conceptual statement. He's shuffling along, a little Chinese guy, and sliding his feet and just shuffling up, cleaning up the glass. And that was automation. When I worked in Trondheim, I haven't told you anything about there, but one of the job I ended up having there and getting paid for a little bit was there's a factory where the whole town is dependent on the factory. It's one particular kind of, it's a sort of mining thing. And so it comes up from mine, and the factory then fixes this material into something that's useful. And so the professor was asked to take a look at this situation because they could automate the factory easily. But they had nothing else, no other product, nothing to sell, nothing to do in that. But the town was entirely taken up with the factory. And they could automate. So there was no factory for the people. There was just a factory that manufactured, and a few people worked there. And the question is, what should you do? Should you leave it unautomated or not?
Yes.
And he was struggling with that because it was a social question. And I certainly didn't have an answer, but we went to the factory and interviewed a lot of people. And what shocked me was that this professor really had no idea of what went on in a factory. I had already worked for 2 years in a factory.
Yes.
I decided I would try and find out what working people do instead of being just an intellectual. So I chose to take 2 years working in a factory as a laborer. And that had to do with my political work at the...
Sure.
But the professor really had no idea and how limited this knowledge was that these people who are teaching mathematics and all, or who specialize, they don't have a sense of the breadth at all. And I don't either, in many respects. But to see it in somebody else, how they get narrowed down by the machine, so they be, or narrowed down by mathematics or whatever. They stop being humans. In a sense, some manage quite well, but many are really caught up in the heads and they've lost this.
The heart.
It's quite fascinating. So,
good.
Food.
Okay, so anything else in that folder? Or no?
No.
I know we need to go eat.
I need to eat too. So I think what we should do.
I'll certainly come back tomorrow and I'll grab those and try to scan what I can.
Do you have something to carry them in? Or?
Yeah, I'll try to put them in my backpack. If not,
I have this briefcase.
It's a pretty big bag, so let me try.
Okay.
I brought you, if you want, there is an article about me in the newspaper today, so I just brought you a copy in case you want to.
Yeah.
In case you want to read in Norwegian. Because I'm speaking tomorrow at an event they're organizing.
Where are you speaking?
It's at the House of Literature, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Norwegian. But it's the newspaper organized it, so.
Yeah, Morgenblad's quite good. I knew that. No, not Morgenblad. No, I think that.
They have, well, the current editor, she is married to the editor of the newspaper, which is called Class Struggle in English, whatever it is. That's the leftist newspaper. Do you know what it is? Whatever it is in
Klassekampen.
Class Struggle, yeah, I guess.
No.
Yeah, Klassekampen, yeah.
Klassekampen.
Yeah. The two editors, they are married, so this and
Okay.
that newspaper.
Well, Klassekampen is class fight.
Fight, maybe not strike.
Fight.
Yeah.
Kamp is word for fighting.
It's the same in German.
Yeah. And that's good. I like to read it. I think the previous editor was a good friend of mine.
Uh-huh.
The guy who sort of took it up from being nothing.
Uh-huh.
His name. So you haven't seen the things on the table, or have you?
Not really. So some of them I have. I'll just take a very quick look, and we can go.
Yeah.
Because I assume what's on the table is the most important part.
Yeah. But don't.
This, I took a copy of this. I looked at this. I just didn't look at that blue folder, and I didn't look at this, so I have no idea.
And here's a book. That.
This I saw this article. Is it you swimming here naked on a? I always wanted to ask. Is it
Yeah.
you?
But no, that's my. No, that's.
No, but there is also a man here. You cannot see it. I have a better resolution of. So there's two people.
Let me see. Oh. Well, I don't really know.
Anyway, it's not a big question.
Yeah, this one I enjoyed very much doing.
This article? Yeah, it's fun. But there might be stuff here that I don't. What this is, I have no idea. I've never saw it.
Maybe.
Okay, so this is the copy of the. Oh, what is this? Ah, that's interesting. And this I would like to take a copy of.
This, I think, last week's topic was something weird. Has Avery written many things?
In the 60s and 70s, early 70s, yes, but not since.
Oh,
So after early 70s, he stops publishing.
yeah. Well, he died.
He got a patent. He died in 85, I think, 86. He got a patent on the teleconferencing system through telephone, where people could vote and participate.
I know.
That was in the early 80s, I think.
Experiment in self-learning local stimulation.
And he was working on a book when he died. So that's left somewhere. Like,
Okay. McKay was another one of the.
Donald Mackay, yeah? British guy.
He wasn't Scottish.
So maybe he was the Scottish guy that that McCulloch sent you to see, no?
Maybe. Not sure.
You reference him a lot also in your papers.
Well, I didn't know that you need to read it, but it's
No, I would like to see what's in there.
yeah, self-loop learning. Self-learning, closed-loop learning stimulation. There's some interesting things to do. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just.
Oh, this is a book.
Yes, you're starting to tell me about it.
Yeah, I shall. I have copies, so I give it to you.
Ah, you have? Okay, so we'll just take it.
But let me tell you about it briefly. I have a friend, Rita Westbeck,
Yeah, you mentioned that.
and we got money from somebody to make this book for my, I think it's my 70th birthday or something like that.
80s, probably.
80s, yeah. And so it's supposed to be a discussion between the two of us.
Uh-huh.
But in a way, she's just not. We're using each other as sort of to give keys to each other to make our own speeches.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't really a discussion.
Sure.
But nonetheless, what she says is what she says, and what I say is what I say. And there's a lot of the more recent stuff.
Uh-huh. This is the book, no?
So you take one of those, but we can do that tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah, some of them I couldn't find, so this is really good stuff. So this I will borrow it tonight. Let's see what's here.
Wouldn't it? That should be hard to copy, I would think.
This?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I take photos with my iPad, so I mean, it's some of them I probably have because I found them elsewhere, but some of them probably impossible to find. So
Yeah.
choose do I have?
Well, I'm thinking at not very far away.
Yeah.
There's a new restaurant which is Thai food,
Yeah.
and it avoids our going to a good restaurant.
It does what?
Avoids us going to a good
Ah,
restaurant. And the reason
anything
for
you
that
want.
is the good restaurants at this point are full of people
Sure.
who are who I would like to be with, but at the same time it seems that it's noisy and
Sure.
we couldn't talk to each other. 'Cause
Hey,
too
if
much
it's
noise.
Thai, it's fine. I don't eat meat, so if they have fish, I'll be happy.
Yeah, they have fish.
Sure.
And I'm
it's
cutting
seafood.
down on my meat,
Uh-huh.
and we are the people who live here is
He's mentioned he's a chef.
he's a chef, but he's a chef in Spain,
Uh-huh.
in one of the best restaurants in the world,
Tebuli.
Tabuli.
Really?
Yeah,
He was a chef there.
yeah.
Ah, fantastic. They closed it down, but they're reopening it now.
Okay. But so he and his woman,
Mm-hmm.
he is such a magnificent chef. It's just amazing what he can cook up. It's amazing. But he has gone to his guru in India to set up a restaurant there, I think, as I mentioned to you. And he's a good guy.
Alright. I don't need a suitcase, but maybe you have a small bag in which I can put some of those. I literally need like a tote bag or something like that.
Well.
If you not, I'll just carry them in my hands.
No, no,
it's
no,
fine.
don't try.
Tomorrow
Say I
I'll
have this,
see the rest.
the silver. I suggest you take this silver, this box that I have, which is empty.
Silver?
It's
Let me see, maybe I will. See if I manage to. But there is no. It's fine. It's just one. I can carry it like that.
okay.
Just move
But
along.
there's no need to carry it now when you go.
It will come back, I assume, or maybe I can take it now.
well,
I'll
maybe it
probably
will
need to
come
grab a cab at some point.
Yeah.
Where it's easier from the restaurant or from here?
No, it's easier from the restaurant.
Okay. I'll just go. I'll just go to the toilet once again and
Maybe.
Go ahead. Or I can go, whatever is
You
easiest.
go ahead.
So this, I think we're done with all of this. I'll just close that. Should I put them one by one here?
Yeah. Good.
So, my tablet. Okay, so I'll just go to the.
Yeah. Huh?